This video is a YouTube exclusive. The first video you probably have already seen. I love it. I think it's a very important piece of information that you're going to see moving forward in the UFO phenomenon, to my personal opinion. But watch the videos, connect the dots for yourself, and tell me what you think at the very end. Antarctica. How much do you actually know about it? I bet a lot of us could probably agree on the fact that Antarctica sits at the bottom of the globe. There's cute little penguins on it, and also it's covered in ice. But that's like about it, yeah? Did you know almost every country in the world owns a sliver of Antarctica, and we started exploring it in 1820 on foot? But yet when you pull up Antarctica on Google Earth, it literally looks like a 2-year-old did a Photoshop job with missing parts and glitching pieces. It's really strange. Here's where stuff gets interesting. We're really only allowed to see part of Antarctica because there was a treaty written quite a while ago that stated that we weren't allowed to go to the inner workings of Antarctica. But before that treaty was written, there was a man by the name of Richard E. Byrd, and this man traveled into the heart of Antarctica and wrote his experience in his diary. The story from his journal actually takes place in 1946 to 1947 and called Operation High Jump. The reason those dates are significant is because they take place during the time of World War II and into the Cold War era, which is interesting because that's when we were testing and playing around with nuclear explosions, Hiroshima and Nagasaki, just to name a few. Also, don't let me forget about the Roswell crash of 1947. And if you knew anything about UFOs, you'd most likely know that UFOs, for whatever reason, seem to like nuclear power. General E. Byrd talks about his experience flying through the Arctic, and it's a very interesting story. He states when he took off, he was flying for quite a while before he noticed the temperature start to rise in his airplane up to a whopping 75 degrees Fahrenheit, and in the distance he seen some greenery and what he thought looked to be like a mammoth. Now, as Byrd flew closer to this object, he did state it indeed was a mammoth, and he also said he seen a giant hole in the ground when all of a sudden he realized his controls in his airplane were no longer working. He claims he looked out the right hand side of his airplane and then he saw it, a UFO with the swastika. Told you it'd get interesting. Nazis were playing around with something called the bell-shaped UFO, or even considered time travel at this point in time. But that aside, General Byrd said that he was told he was in good hands and they were lowered down into the hole, where he was instructed to speak with a man called the Master. Now, the Master told General Byrd, as is stated, that we humans have stumbled upon a technology way too powerful. And his job, General Byrd's, was to relay the information back to the government who had been tampering with this technology. Of course, this is on hush-hush terms, so none of us heard about this. But that going forward, guess what happened? If you guessed nuclear treaty, you could be correct. The information shortly after this was relayed across the entire globe in secret, then signed into act to the nuclear treaty where the World War II never went hot, thus creating the Cold War.
Dwight D. Eisenhower signed a peace treaty with an alien race in 1954 that might have allowed for human abductions. I mean, if this is true, it would be an explosive revelation. So I'm going to continue my investigation by speaking with Laura Eisenhower, President Eisenhower's great-granddaughter.
Hi there.
Hey Laura, how's it going?
Pretty good, how are you?
Good. Hey, thank you for meeting with me. I've heard a lot about some rumors that I'm hoping you can either confirm or deny for me. I'm just gonna come right out and ask you, do you believe that your great-grandfather, Dwight D. Eisenhower, signed a treaty with extraterrestrials?
It's a true story. I've learned about Eisenhower's relationship to extraterrestrial beings and ET government treaties is that supposedly in 1954 there was a meeting at Edwards Air Force Base.
Right.
They seemed to have diplomatic intention. The treaties had to do with bartering exchanges of planetary goods, natural resources, elements, and compounds. And it was in exchange for things like abduction.
Why would they want to abduct humans? What are they doing with that?
But they need our DNA. We have a treasure of DNA that is basically a living library.
Laura Eisenhower explains that aliens wish to analyze our DNA in their quest to unlock the secrets of the universe, which they believe is hidden in the DNA of all living creatures.
This next portion of the video is actually going to clarify what the treaty entailed, and I also included some video links on the bottom to help kind of visualize what other things have been happening. Inside Hollywood, it's not like they don't know stuff, because Hollywood has connections, and those connections seem to get passed down to people like Steven Spielberg, who have like incorporated some of these things in their movies, such as Close Encounters. So pay close attention to the little hints that I gave you at the bottom to help you connect all the dots to these stories.
Treaty stated the aliens would not interfere in our affairs and we would not interfere in theirs. We were particularly interested that they do not interfere with anything that would affect our future, which has been violated. We would keep their presence on Earth a secret. They would furnish us with advanced technology and would help us in our technological development. They would not make any treaty with any other Earth nation. They could abduct humans on a limited and periodic basis for the purpose of medical examination and monitoring of our development, with the stipulation that the humans would not be harmed, would be returned to their point of abduction, that the humans would have no memory of the event, and that the alien nation would furnish MJ-12 with a list of all human contacts and abductees on a regularly scheduled basis. And this is not being done. It was agreed that each nation would receive the ambassador of the other for as long as the treaty remained in force. It was further agreed that the alien nation and the United States would exchange 16 personnel each to the other with the purpose of learning each of the other. The alien guests would remain on Earth and the human guests would travel to the alien point of origin for a specified period of time, then return, at which point a reverse exchange would be made. I have no knowledge whatsoever of what happened to those original 16 humans who left the Earth with the aliens. It was also agreed that bases would be constructed underground for the use of the alien nation and that 2 bases would be constructed for the joint use of the alien nation and the United States government. The base at Dulce is one, the base at S4 in the area known as Area 51 or Dreamland is the second. Exchange of technology would take place in the jointly occupied bases. These alien bases would be constructed under Indian reservations in the 4 corners of Utah, Colorado, New Mexico, and Arizona, and one would be constructed in Nevada in the area known as S4, located approximately 7 miles south of the western border of Area 51, otherwise known as Dreamland. All alien areas are under complete control of the Naval Department, and all personnel who work in these complexes receive their checks from the Navy. Construction of the bases began immediately, but progress was slow until large amounts of money were made available in 1957, and in the meantime, work continued on the Yellow Book with the information derived from the guests.
Could this be true? Could President Eisenhower's granddaughter be telling us the truth? And could these statements being made actually be something that was written in the document that was signed between an alien race and humans? And if so, that very well could be why we actually do not know the truth. I mean, that's pretty terrifying information to know that the government signed over human lives essentially to another species in trade for helping our technological advancements. But I've seen a lot of stuff that points in that direction. Just saying. Let's finish this video.
In your grandfather's place, I mean, do you have a better understanding? Do you blame him for what he did?
I am not here to protect anybody. I know that he just had no idea what he was dealing with at the time.
Right.
How could anybody truly process the larger picture of all this?
What do you think the government loses by telling the American public and giving full disclosure about these treaties and the abductions? Why are they trying to sweep it under the rug and hide it?
You're going to have your well-intentioned people that are trying to do their best for humanity, that are aware of what's going on to a certain degree, and they are being heavily stopped from being able to put out disclosure. Plus, what they have to lose is their life.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Laura just gave me so much information.